Alright, what's up guys? It's been a while, I say that. It seems like nowadays I've been saying it after or before each video, but it's been a while, and as you can see in the title, this is going to be about my worst week or my worst trip in trucking. As you can tell in the last video, I had just bought my Peterbilt. I had just hired my driver, which happened to be my stepdad, and we got out on the road. I made it all the way to Tennessee, Crossville, Tennessee, about 260 miles away, and that truck broke down. And before I even got that truck on the road, I was rushing that whole time I was home, because with the company I'm leased onto, you need to have the electronic computer, you know, the ELD, the PeopleNet. You have to have that installed. I have to go over to the tag office, get everything switched into my name. And when you're buying it from a different, like an individual instead of a dealership, it's always a real long process to get the title. You know, it takes like 15, 20 days. So I finally got that in. I needed his power of attorney, and it was just a big hassle. I ended up going to the DMV 2 or 3 different times before I could finally get it, and then they needed my business information and stuff. It was just a huge deal, and you know, so that was like $1,500 to get it tagged. I got it registered, and I got some letters made for the side of the truck. It was just some cheap letters, temporary letters. So I got those put on the side of the truck, and I thought I was ready to go. The computer actually, so get this, there was our company, I guess, I'm not sure, we were completely out of computers. We had been waiting on the PeopleNets to come. You know, they said the orders had been in for weeks, and we just wasn't getting any in. So I ended up paying, because every time they take it out of your truck, you know, you got to pay for that, and then you got to pay to put it in. So I brought my International in because I knew I was going to put it in the shop as soon as the Peterbilt was on the road. So I brought my International into the shop, had them take that PeopleNet out, that computer out, which was, you know, supposedly it's around $250, and then they put in took it out of the International and put it in the Peterbilt. And I did all this so I could, you know, get on the move, especially since I officially took over the income for my or the salary for my stepdad that week. I told him I'd start him on Monday, and here it was Monday, so I had to get the truck done as soon as possible. But the initial plan was to leave on Monday, and I think this is like the last week of September, or the week, like the 20th or something like that. It's like the second to last week in September. So I got all that done, and we were finally ready to leave out. So we ended up leaving out, I believe, on Tuesday. So I drove first. It was because he had never drove a 13 speed. That's kind of one of the reasons why I hired him, was because he had never been a truck driver. He'd always wanted to do something different. You know, he had the same job as most of his adult life, and he just, you know, wanted something different. And he seen that I liked truck driving, and he seen I was doing pretty good with it. So I put him on to try to train him up and, you know, just get him on the right start. So I was showing him how to kind of shift the 13 speed and everything. We left out at 260 miles, and that's when my truck broke down. So from there, you know, if you watch the last video, I ended up calling the tow truck from back home, having him drive all the way out there, towing a truck that I leased from my company, so that I could finish that run. Because, you know, if you're not doing a run, you're not getting paid. There's no point of, you know, me not doing a run at all and paying for his weekly salary. So I had that truck shipped up. I think it ended up being $500 a week at 10 cents a mile. And then they took my Peterbilt back to the shop at home. I wasn't stressing too much then, and I was like, great, I can get back on the road. So we started driving again, and everything was fine. We were in a 65-mile-an-hour truck, so we weren't really making the mileage that I'm used to. But we get up to Montana, and sure enough, since I had to wait like a day on that tow truck, and I was having trouble getting everything titled the first that Monday and Friday, I ended up leaving a little late. So by the time I got to Montana, I got half my trailer off because some reason we usually working for this company, we usually have like at most 10 to 12 stops, and somehow I ended up with 23 stops on the trailer. So it went from the east side of Montana all the way down 90. I think I had to go to Big Sky, Montana, down 15 a little bit, and then all the way up to Klamath Falls. And then I was supposed to go from Klamath Falls all the way over to Shelby, and then I would have deadheaded from Shelby down to Idaho, around Idaho Falls, and that's where I would have picked up my backhaul, my potatoes, and then hauled back. Which in a perfect world, I would have been able to get unloaded and picked up my backhaul that first week. But since the truck broke down, I ended up getting half my trailer off on Friday, and then I had to wait all weekend for my next stop to open in Belgrade. And then, Monday morning I went from Belgrade all the way down to like Big Sky and all those places, and then I went north. But so I ended up having to sit there, and that was also the same weekend that they had that September blizzard in Montana, and up north where Shelby is and all, got a ton of snow. I think 2 was still closed down Monday, but it was just a whole bunch of delays all piled up. So now my 1 week run has ended up coming into week 2. So I get most of the stops off that Monday, but I have to sit in Klamath Falls Monday night to wait for that delivery to open up Tuesday morning. Tuesday morning, first thing, I got unloaded. But from Klamath Falls, I had to go all the way down to like, what is it, Rupert maybe? No. Anyway, I had to go pretty much near Idaho Falls. So that was, my stop didn't open up that morning until 10 o'clock. So leaving, leaving Montana to get down there was going to be like 7 or 8 hours at 65 miles an hour, so I'm not moving fast. I'm not making good timing. There's no way to make up more timing. I ended up getting there to Idaho right as they close. I'm calling, I keep calling all the way down there. I'm like, hey, I'm almost there. I'll be here at this time. It's be cutting it close, so I just keep calling them. They said as long as I'm there by 6, I can get loaded. Well, I get there about 5:55, 5:50. I go through the scales. I swing by. I get out, and I go in. I waited in line behind one guy, and then by the time I got up to the counter, they're like, well, it's 6:01, so we normally don't start anybody after 6 o'clock. So you're going to have to wait until the morning to get loaded. And I was like, well, there's got to be a way you can load me now. So I pulled out $50. Actually, I think I asked them, I was like, well, what will it take for you guys to load my truck now? And they spoke Spanish to everybody, and he looked at me and he was like, $50. And I was like, all right, sounds good. So I pull out $50, give it to them. They load my truck, and I scale out, and I'm gone. So that all went really well. And like I said, this is Tuesday, 6 p.m. We ended up, I think we had to go to South Carolina or something. So we make it all the way back to Tennessee. My stepdad's driving. And I think he was needing to take his 30-minute break, so he was running out of time. And so he pulls off at the Pilot in Crossville, you know, where Lefty's barbecue is right there in Tennessee. And I'm in the bed because I drove most of the night, so I'm sleeping. And he says he pulls into the truck stop, and he pulls in the exit way. You know, the sign says enter and exit, but you're supposed to pull in over where Lefty's barbecue is, and then you leave over at the other side. Well, he pulls in the exit side, and he said he checked his mirror. He was clearing the curb, but then there was a truck coming like it was about to leave. So at the last minute, he turns the wheel all the way to the right to get closer to the trucks. And he said he checked the mirror, so he was clear of the curb for sure. Well, when he turned the wheel real sharp, it was before the trailer axles were past, you know, where you need to be to pull in, and he ended up clipping that truck. And like, it was a brand new 2019 or 2020 Cascadia, and he just takes the bumper off of it, messes up the hood. So I hear it and I wake up. I'm like, oh no, this is not good. What just happened? You know, we call the cops, we do the police report, blah, blah, blah. I jumped where he hit it. A piece of metal went inside of our tire and gouged it really bad. So we was probably going to have a blowout. So I looked it up. There was a tire place right across the street. I say across the street, but it was like a half mile down the street. We pulled out, went over there, got a new tire, and then we made our way back to South Carolina, or to South Carolina. And then that load, hang on, let me think, because I'm telling the story now, but this has happened probably 3 weeks ago, and I've just been, you know, busy training him and doing all that. But I'm going to be making like a part 2 of this video as well. But this is just that one trip, that 1 week my 1 week trip that turned into 2 weeks. So, and I think this load with the 23 stops and all, I think it only paid $7,700. You know, I've got like 5,500 miles in it. I've got 2 weeks. So that truck payment ended up being, that I leased, ended up being for 2 weeks. So, you know, 550 or 500, I'm not sure which one it was. Let's just say 500. So for 2 weeks, that's $1,000 there. The like 55 or whatever miles, you know, that's another 550. So that was 1,500 just in the truck, not counting the fuel. And then paying him, I was paying him a trainee salary. So I was paying him $700 a week starting out. So I had the 1,500 in the truck, the 700 in that. My international was in the shop getting worked on, just like normal stuff I'd kind of been holding off on to where it was down. I had to like check the clutch out. My very last trip in the international, my rear end started leaking a little bit. You could see it seeping out. It wasn't like dripping or nothing. But I went ahead and had them like reseal all that, change the fluids. They fixed a couple other things. It ended up being like $5,000. So I didn't know it was going to be that expensive, all in the same week. So yeah, the 1,500 for the rental truck, the 1,000 for the tow truck, so now I'm at 2,500. The 5,000 for the international, so now I'm at, what's that? I forgot what I said already. So I'll just let y'all count that up. The 5,000 for that. I ended up getting the Peterbilt back to the shop, and they diagnosed the problems. And when I first bought the International, I told you, it had those, not the International, the Peterbilt, I'm sorry. I told you it had those problems with it. And that the injector went bad or something. Well, they're saying what happened to the Peterbilt was where that injector went bad, another injector had to work hard. And I guess it made it get stuck open. So that injector was stuck open and just feeding too much fuel into it. Well, fuel got into the diesel particulate filter, DPF, and it shattered my DPF and everything. So now the price I'm looking at for the Peterbilt is $15,000. He said it may be as low as 12, but I'm going off of the high number, the 15, because that's how, I would keep track of that stuff in my head. If I go with the low number, then he gives me the 15,000 and I didn't plan for it in my head, then, I start freaking out and stuff. But, so yeah, the 15,000 for the Peterbilt. And then on top of that, that wreck, luckily for me, it was the trailer that hit his truck. And where I'm leased onto this company, it's on their insurance. I just have to pay the bond or the deductible that I had on the truck, which was like either $1,500 or $2,000. So I ended up having to pay that off for this load that paid like $7,700. So yeah. So, oh no, I didn't. Yeah. I don't know. That was definitely the worst week I've had in trucking. And I say worst week, but as I've explained, ended up being 2 weeks. Now I'm really interested. I should have counted all that up. If y'all are watching and y'all listened, how much money did I just add up? $1,400 for my employee, $1,500 to rent the truck, $1,000 for the tow truck, $1,500 for the bond on the trailer, $5,000 for the international, $15,000 for the Peterbilt. I think that was it. And then the backhaul, I think, ended up only paying like $4,500. So 77 out there, 45 back. Took me 2 weeks to do. So yeah, that is how you have a bad week in trucking. Luckily, I like having quite a bit of money saved up. I'm not gonna lie, from where I was putting the computer in the truck, and I got the tag and title done, and fixing that truck when I first bought it. I said I went in and helped pay for some of the repairs because I already said I would buy it, and so I think I paid like $6,000 up front, $7,000 up front for that, and so I was already operating on a limited budget compared to what I normally have, and then all that piled up on top, and it was definitely, I was starting to stress out by the end. It was my worst week in trucking. I don't think I made any money. And actually, the Peterbilt still isn't fixed. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do. There's a cheaper way to get out of the $15,000 if I do choose to go that way. But y'all have to stick around for part 2 of this little story, and I'll fill you in on the rest. So thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you liked it, please like it and subscribe it. Subscribe if you're not already. And that'd really help me out and let me know what y'all think. So thanks. Have a good one.